Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the endocrinology course. Hope you would like the course. We're going to start with a brief introduction before we hop on into the principles of endocrinology. For each session, we stop in. There will be a description in the description below. There will be a website where you can test your knowledge, retention of knowledge, and there's also flashcards. There's also games to have fun with materials and the information that we have. There's also the flashcards will help retain your knowledge. Tests would be easy, not complicated, or they will be straightforward. And hope you would like this course. Please leave a like button and enjoy. Welcome to the introduction of endocrinology. We will emphasize on four main concepts. First is the classification of hormones and their chemical signaling mechanism. Furthermore, we're going to see their synthesis and secretion and how they are transported. The hormone receptors signaling transduction process and the interaction between endocrine, nervous, and immune systems. So, classification of hormones. Hormones is a Greek word for I excite or arouse. It is the way the cell communicates with each other, and by the distance between the cell that secretes the hormone and the cell that receives it, we define which type of signaling. So if the cells are distant from each other, we call it endocrine signaling. If they are close or neighbor to each other, we call it paracrine. A very simple example for these two is that, let's say, the endocrine signaling would be an example for adrenaline that is secreted from adrenal glands. So this adrenaline goes throughout the body, through the heart, through the organs, through the stomach, lungs to increase the heart rate, stomach to decrease its function, and so on and so forth. However, so this is the distance, so they are very distant between each other. However, in paracrine signaling, we're talking about neighboring cells. So let's talk about the nerve synapses. They are very close to each other, so they secrete the hormone that is sending the neurotransmitter, and the next dendrite or next neuron receives it. So it's called a synaptic signaling. It is a form of a paracrine signaling also. Some cells secrete the hormone in their interstitial fluid and then signals itself back. So in other words, let's say that we have a cell and then there's nucleus. So this will be the interstitial fluid and the neighboring cell for it. Okay. So the hormone goes into the interstitial fluid. Let's call it IF. And then this hormone goes back to the cell and the cell gets signaled. So this is an autocrine. However, in an intercrine signaling, it's less known. It is where the cell itself, here's our big cell. Oh, hang on. Okay. The cell itself secretes the hormone within the cytosol, and then the cytosol has the intracellular receptors to signal, and the cell takes the signal and starts to take its effect. So as a wrap-up, See the types of signaling, there are 4 types. There are endocrine, paracrine, autocrine, and endocrine. Another way to classify the hormones is by their functions. So there are 7 types, and we can just wrap them up very easily. So we could say that to survive, we need to eat and digest our food. And to digest them, so we need to regulate our metabolism and its nutrition supply. And as we eat, we grow and develop. And during our life, we sexually differentiate and reproduce. Offsprings. To defend our body from the environment outside, we must maintain our internal environment. Now, let's go one by one. Eat and digest food. So we have, let's say, glucose, and we eat them, we digest them, and it goes into our blood. Too much of glucose causes problems to our body. So we need to regulate this nutrition supply. So what regulates it? Insulin. And even if we take it from the blood, we need to store it somewhere. So the liver stores this glucose and put it as glycogen. So it's regulate our metabolism. It regulates the direction on if we build up from glycogen from glucose, or we break the glucose down to produce energy. As we eat, we grow and develop is by growth hormones. So we could grow. In sexually differentiate and reproduce, we say that there are testosterone and progesterones. Those are 2 key hormones in the body of the male and the female, respectively. And to defend our body from the environment outside is to maintain our internal environment by maintaining our homeostasis, which is the blood volume, the temperature, the immune system, and so on and so forth. This is a wrap-up again. Functions of the hormones: to regulate metabolism and nutrient supply, reproduce